Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today we have Gremlin joining us. Come here, Gremlin, say hello. Hi, say hello, Mr. Gimmers. He'll be hanging around with us a little today. So today I'm actually going to do a very quick, hopefully, video of a review of this Milani Glow Hydrating Skin Tint. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply it with a sponge and a brush on the video, and then pause the video, go finish my hair and makeup, and come back and then kind of tell you my thoughts on it. I've been wearing this off and on for about 2 weeks now, so I've got some thoughts about like the best way to apply it, so on and so forth, and kind of what my overall impressions are. But if you want to see what I think about this, just keep watching. And before I get started, I did want to point out these beautiful, hang on, let me zoom in. Nope. These little mismatched candy corn and spiderweb earrings are from Betsy Johnson. And then this really cool t-shirt. I like to think of this as me and Gremlin riding on the back of a scooter. That's why I bought it. But this is from the brand Mischief Made. I did purchase the shirt from Unique Vintage, but this is the brand, and there's their information. Their Instagram is Mischief Made Me. So yeah, so if you're curious about that, you can check those things out. I bought them recently, so hopefully both would still be in stock. So as I said before, let's go ahead and zoom in, and we will start with this application of the foundation. So what I did this morning is I've already put some blurring pore filling primer on my face and moisturizer, and that's it, and I let that sit in for about 30 minutes. The reason that I did that is because this is a glow foundation, so let's look at this. So Milani Glow, this is the shade Fair to Light, which is the lightest shade that they make. On the back it says 110 Glow. This, of course, is cruelty-free. It's also vegan, so can't go wrong with that. And it's also very affordable. On Ulta, it is currently $11.99. But remember, if you spend $15, they usually have one of those $3.50 off a $15 purchase. So what I recommend doing is picking this up and then maybe like a Wet n Wild beauty sponge. They're like $3 or $4, and then you get $3.50 off. So it's kind of like you almost get the sponge for free. That's actually what I did. And so because this is a glowing foundation, my skin does pretty well with glow, but I don't want to use any moisturizer right before I put this on because it's like a really thin consistency. So I find that if I put moisturizer on and then immediately go in with this, that it makes it a little bit too thinned out. Whereas if I use put the moisturizer on, wait, do a pore filling primer, and then wait about 30 minutes and then put this on, that seems to be the best application for my skin personally. And my skin right now is pretty normal. It gets a little tiny bit oily in the T-zone, but not super bad at all. So pretty much my skin is normal right now. It definitely fluctuates and changes throughout the year. But yeah, so just a couple of things to read about this. It does say that it is 29% squalane. Don't know what that is. It also says that it has electrolytes, coconut water, and sheer to light coverage, melts into skin for a naturally dewy glow. So typically I do prefer a more full coverage foundation, but I liked the idea of this as something that was a little bit more natural looking for days when I didn't want such a thick face of makeup, and especially when it's really hot still. So I'm in the South, it's still really hot in the South, and so when I go to work, I do sweat when I'm walking around. And so if I use a really thick, cakey foundation currently, I'm sweating my makeup off and it just doesn't hold up very well. Whereas this seems to be a better option, something a little bit more thin and something that looks a little bit more skin-like. So I'm going to shake it up. And when you open it, it's got a squeeze tube. It's plastic, looks like this. And so what I'm going to do is just squeeze some on the back of my hand. So again, this was the lightest shade. It's not a perfect match for me by any means, but you can tell this probably from the back of my hand, but it's pretty close. So what I'm going to start with, I'm going to do half my face with a brush and half my face with a sponge, and I'm going to use my current favorite foundation brush and then my current favorite beauty sponge. So we'll start with the brush. So this is actually from Juvia's Place. This is a very affordable brush. I think that it is like a dupe for the It Cosmetic brushes that they sell at Ulta. I think I ordered this directly from Juvia's website though, so they may not have it at Ulta, but it's definitely worth the order just because this is such a great brush. So I'm just going to gently tap in to that on the back of my hand there, pick some up, and then I'm just going to start applying on this side of my face. I'm kind of using pressing motions. And so hopefully you can see right away that it is very glowy. So it definitely fits the description of being a very, very glowy foundation. I I wouldn't consider this dewy personally. I think this is more than dewy. It's very glowy to me. Smells like coconuts. Very, very lightly scented of coconut. It doesn't bother me. And then after I kind of get it applied, I'm gonna get a little bit more. I go back over it with the brush and kind of tap it into the skin, and I feel like that gives it a more natural skin-like finish. Like this. And I do use a lot of it, so I'm going in. I already used all that I had on the back of my hand. I'm going in again. But remember, I am someone who typically likes fuller coverage, so I am going to probably take, when it's a light to sheer coverage, I'm going to put more on to try to get it to build up. And under these lights especially, it does look very, very, very glowy. Honestly, like this is too glowy for my taste. So I will, and you'll see later, I'm definitely going to put powder on it because this is a little bit too much for me. So that is the side of my face done with the brush. Hopefully you can tell a difference in the two sides. I do think that it's obvious that this side of my face has coverage, but you can still see like my little beauty marks here. I have a little bit of freckles down here, and they're still showing through, but not necessarily like the redness in my skin like you see on this side where I don't have anything. Okay, so next I'm going to shift to the sponge, and my favorite beauty sponge is the Beauty Bakery sponge. You can pick these up at Ulta. You can also get them at Target now, and I think CVS too. And these are really, really good for the price. I love these. I like these better than the Beauty Blender original sponge. So same thing, I've still got a little bit left on the back of my hand. I'm going to add just a little bit more. This sponge has been dampened, so it is damp. And I'm going to just bounce it on the back of my hand like that, pick it up, get it spread out. And now we're going to shift to this side of my face. Now, this sponge had just been washed, so it did honestly absorb a lot of the product. So I'm going to have to go in with even more. But again, that's a preference thing. If you like a more natural finish, you wouldn't have to do that. And I think with the sponge, it definitely does look more skin-like. This looks more like you don't have anything on your skin, even though you do. So you can probably tell, you can still see like some of my freckles and a little bit of dark spots that I have here that are still showing through. So I'm going to go in again. I know I'm using a lot, so that's something to think about. If you're someone like me that prefers more coverage, you would probably go through the tube relatively quickly. All right, let's go in again. So it is buildable with a sponge. Hopefully you can see that there. Like I'm gonna dip in again and go for these little frecklies that I have down here on the bottom of my face. And hopefully you can see that it did build up just a little bit. It's definitely not medium coverage or anything like that, but I do think that it went from sheer to light coverage. So that's what my face is looking like. I think that the brush and the sponge applied pretty similar with this foundation, which is weird because usually that doesn't happen for me. Usually the foundations go on very differently with the two options. I probably prefer this one with a sponge because it's a light coverage one, and I don't know, there's just something about using a sponge with a nice light coverage foundation that I think is like refreshing and nice. So what I'm gonna do now, just to, again, let's do a slow turn. Lean in a little bit. And now just to kind of make it even, I'm gonna get the rest that was on the back of my hand and go over this side too, that we used the brush on, so that everything is blended out about the same on my face. Alright, so that's where I'll stop. So if you just apply this, no powder, no concealer, as I mentioned before, I do have a pore filling blurring primer on with and some moisturizer that I'd put on earlier, but this is what you can expect. So very, very glowy, a little bit too glowy for me personally. But if you like that look, and maybe if your skin is not as mature as my skin, this would probably be great. So if you're like in your teens, for example, I think this could probably be a phenomenal foundation for you and you would really enjoy it. Alright, so I am going to put on powder and concealer and like do my face the way that I would do it if I was going out, which I actually am going out to do some errands today. So I'm just going to finish my face as I normally would. So that does mean when I come back, I'm going to have heavy concealer under my eyes, and a lot more powder on my face to take away from that glow, because again, it's a little bit too shiny for me. But hopefully you can kind of see, you can go from this, and then if you attempt to do kind of a full face of makeup, what it's going to look like. So I'll be back in just a few seconds after I finish my hair and makeup. Alright everyone, I'm back. Obviously hair and makeup is finished now. I hope you like the look that I did for you today. I was going for something kind of grungy, pin-up, but still fall appropriate, that would match this t-shirt that I just got. Again, love this t-shirt. It's me and Mr. Grimmers right here. So my final thoughts on this Milani Glow Hydrating Skin Tint. So first and foremost, would I repurchase it? No, unfortunately not. But hear me out. Let me zoom in so you can see. This is the final look. And this is after I've powdered on the T-zone area. I didn't powder my cheeks because usually I don't need to do that. So yeah, it gave me decent coverage. It's not as much coverage as I would like to see, which is why I wouldn't repurchase it. However, having said that, do I recommend it? Absolutely. I think that this is much better, and this is just my personal opinion. A lot of people probably will disagree with this. I think this is a much better option than the Fenty blur drops that are also supposed to give you kind of that blurred light coverage. Obviously this one is a glowing one and that one's not, but I just think that this is half the price, less than half the price, and I feel like it did the job. I feel like my skin tone, my skin looks evened out, it looks hydrated, it looks fresh, it looks glowy. And so I do think that it did the things that it claimed. It does not claim to be full coverage. Obviously, it's a skin tint. It's not even meant to be a foundation. So is it hydrating? Absolutely. Does it give you a beautiful glow? Absolutely. A lot of a glow. So remember that. So if you really like a glow, you're probably going to love this. Again, it's cruelty-free and vegan. You can't beat that, especially for $11.99. And I did end up deciding that this shade worked well for me. So the lightest shade, light to fair, shade 110 did work for me. I don't have I can't smell the coconut scent anymore. I know some people hate scented things. But overall, I think that this is a good look. It's natural, it's fresh. It's very in right now for what is popular for skin products. And so I think that you really just cannot beat the price on this. So if you are someone who likes the glow, you don't like something super full coverage, highly recommend that you check this out. You can get it on the Milani website. You can also get it at Ulta. I'm sure Milani does sales too, but I'm just more familiar with the Ulta sales. So that $350 off of a $15 purchase coupon is phenomenal, and you can use it on Milani products. I do prefer applying it with a sponge, as I mentioned before. I think it just kind of evens everything out. And I would say my biggest recommendation for this is if you are someone who is like, you're living in the Southeast like me, you're trying to find something that will stay on your face and stay put and still look hydrating, but not cakey if you start to sweat, because that's been my biggest issue with the products that I've been trying lately for skin products. And I feel like this, and I've tested it, I've worn it to work, as I mentioned before, it does hold up. So even though it is a light coverage foundation, you keep the light coverage all day. The only thing that I will kind of warn you of that happened to me, there was one day that I forgot to set my forehead with a little bit of powder, and when I came home, it had been like 8 or 9 hours, but it had just completely broken up on my forehead. It was oily. It did not look good at all. If I had known it looked that bad, I probably would have went in the bathroom and taken paper towels and tried to blot some of the product off. It looked horrendous, but as long as I don't forget to powder, it keeps this kind of finish that you see here. And I do want to just point out, when you see this glow on my cheeks, that is highlighter that I've added. That's not just from this. So I did go ahead and put on concealer, powder, blush, bronzer, highlighter, eyeshadow, liner, obviously lip product. I did the little brushed up brow with some of, what did I use? The Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Freeze Wax. That's just that clear pomade. You just brush it up into your brows to give them kind of a fluffier look. And if you have any questions about the products that I'm wearing, they're all going to be listed below down in the comment box. So you can check out the products there. If there are any questions you want to ask me, let me know. And again, so I definitely would recommend this. And I also think especially this is really good if you are like a teenager or have very youthful skin. I think that this will just give you a beautiful flood, like glow to your skin. You can still see your true skin shining through, and I think it'll look really good. So I hope this was helpful, and I'll be back with more makeup videos soon.